Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Praise be to Allah alone. We all praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Dear viewers, welcome to any edition of your program Ask Huda. The phone numbers are area code 002-0238-555, 248 or 249, and the email address is ask@huda.tv. One of the pending questions that we had was pertaining praying while on an airplane. The ruling on praying while airborne do not change except whenever it is necessary from the ruling while praying on land, which I mean that the Prophet ﷺ said, صَلِّ قَائِمًا فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ فَجَالِسًا فَإِن لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ فَعَلَى جَنْبٍ. When it comes to the fard prayer, one of the 5 daily prayers, a person who is capable to stand up should stand up and must keep standing in the salah while reciting the Fatiha and the surah. So standing is one of the arkan, one of the pillars of the salah, and one of the conditions of its validity. So if somebody sat down without necessity and without disability in the salah, if it was a fard prayer, then the prayer is invalid. And if somebody is not able to stand up, but he can sit down, yet he did not sit down, rather he prayed while reclining, then the prayer is invalid. All of that is possible if the person is praying nafla, whether he's airborne or whether he's praying in the masjid or at home at the convenience of his house, because this is nafl. But if he prays while sitting down in the nafla prayer, he would only get half of the reward for the prayer, because he did not stand up. So in the case of the fard, if the person is airborne, he should still stand up if there is a room. Some flights, such as on Saudi Airlines, they have a musalla in the plane. In this condition, you cannot pray while sitting down in your seat. The prayer will be invalid unless if the person is disabled. Some flights do allow the person to stand up and pray. And I discussed this before, and I praise European flights which allowed us to pray, and also they spared a room for us. So when the person tries and said, no, it is not allowed, then in this case, we look into the prayer schedule. If my flight will arrive before the end of time and I will have a chance to make the prayer, whether it is by itself or can be combined with the following prayer. Take for instance, Dhuhr. Because if I'm traveling, the time for Dhuhr will be extended until sunset, because I can combine Dhuhr and Asr together at the time of the later prayer, which is Asr. The end for Asr time is when the sun sets down. من أدرك ركعة من العصر قبل أن تغرب الشمس فقد أدرك العصر. If somebody got to pray 1 rak'ah of the Asr prayer before sunset, then he has indeed prayed Asr on time. Of course, it is disliked to postpone the prayer from its proper time without a valid reason. But if it happened, a person was asleep, a person was traveling, and he barely made it, he prayed 1 rak'ah. And this 1 rak'ah counts as rak'ah if the person rose from ruku'. It is not by completing the 4 rak'ah and making sujood, no. If the person recited al-Fatiha and the surah, then he made ruku', and he rose up from ruku', this is a rak'ah. So if he raises from ruku', then has prayer, and that was before sunset, then the Asr prayer was offered on time. So if in my mind and with my simple calculation, I believe that Number one, I cannot stand in the prayer in the plane. They don't allow that. There is no room. There are small jets. Okay. What is the next choice? Well, I still have plenty of time. If I arrive, I have like an hour or so. I can still pray Dhuhr and Asr together before the time of Maghrib or sunset. Then you cannot just simply pray on the plane or while airborne, because you won't be able to pray properly, such as facing the Qibla. It's one of the prerequisites of the Salah. And in standing up, I must wait until I land, then I get to pray. If it's not possible to offer the prayer before its time is over, nor do I think that I would reach before the time ends, meanwhile I cannot stand up in the prayer, then we resort to the second concession, which is you may in this condition pray while seated in your seat, facing the Qibla as much as you can. All the previous conditions will be waived if the person was praying nafla, and I will explain after this phone call. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Zahra from Malaysia.
Yes, sir. Inshallah. I have one question.
Assalamu alaikum. Go ahead, Sister Zahra.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. I have one question regarding the giving of properties by parents while he is still alive. If like he has one child who, takes care of him and he's kinder to him than his other children, he decides to give a land or a house to this child without asking the other children. Because I remember hearing from a sheikh that he has to get consent from all his children before he does this. But I need the dalil, brother, please.
Okay.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, brother.
Wa jazakum. Uthman from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hajj Mabrur.
May Allah accept from all of us. Thank you so much, Uthman.
I have one is request, one is question.
Please go ahead, I hear you.
I think there are two things. One is a request and one is a question. The first request, I will pray for all the Huda listeners from your Hajj. As Rasulullah said, whoever comes back from Hajj, you pray for those at home. My question then, I asked some questions some weeks ago, but I was not fortunate to hear the answer. Under what conditions should a Muslim not attend any of the Jumu'at prayers in his town, where you have more than 3 or 4 central mosques? That's my question, sir.
A person who does not attend any Jumu'ah prayer while in town, there are plenty of masajid, more than one mosque, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Under what conditions?
Okay. Thank you, Uthman. With regards to your first request, alhamdulillah, we indeed prayed for the entire ummah. And it is a privilege for us to pray for the ummah, particularly when we are in sacred places and during sacred times, such as in Hajj, while you are in Mecca, especially in the Haram, and most specifically on the day of Arafah, in the valley of Arafah. And it is indeed an honor and a big gain for the person who makes dua for others, because the Prophet ﷺ taught us that whenever somebody prays for others, Allah will appoint an angel to say, Ameen, O Allah, accept and answer his or her dua and give him or her likewise. So every time you pray for the whole ummah, you get hasanat equal to the number of Muslims. This is something, it's a treasure that many Muslims are negligent of. So once again, we pray for the entire ummah, for their safety, security, and steadfastness on the straight path, and of course to die in a state of iman and end up in heaven, inshaAllah, without reckoning, without punishment. Allahumma ameen. Nasser from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, I have two questions for you. Can I go ahead?
Yeah, I hear you, Brother Nasser. Please proceed on.
Okay. Well, my first question is regarding prayer. Actually, we have this luxurious buses in Nigeria that most of the drivers are not Muslims. So there was a day I was traveling when I was able to rush down, did my ablution, started my prayer. Immediately I started my prayer, I did one raka'ah. I was supposed to do Qasr since I'm on the way. Immediately I finished one raka'ah. I was about to do a second when I said the day is still moving. So I quickly rushed and inside the bench. So I don't know, but actually because of my mind, I just completed the prayer.
You know, Nasser, I understood from you that most of those who are around you are non-Muslims, and you were traveling and you made ablution, then you started the prayer. The rest, I didn't get it. What happened after you started your prayer? Okay, please try again. Are you there, Nasser? Okay.
I'm there.
So what happened when you started the prayer?
What actually happened when the vehicle stopped over, I went down and did my ablution. After the ablution, I started the prayer. Immediately I did the first rakah, the vehicle started moving. So I quickly rushed and joined the vehicle. Inside the vehicle, I completed the second rakah. So I don't know whether that is in order or I should have started the prayer all over inside the vehicle sitting down.
Okay, I'll try my best to comprehend your question, inshallah, and answer you, Nasser. Jazakallah khairan. Talib from Nigeria.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is a very clear line. Go ahead, alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Dr. Salah, I have one question.
Please. Go on, Talib.
I have a friend who just got divorced, but circumstances surrounding the divorce was not pleasant. I wouldn't like to really go into it, but recently she sought help from an Islamic scholar, as the man says he is. She says she should pray for her and the rest of it. But I noticed because I visited her, and then I noticed she was using something like an incense, and then she covers herself up. Then when I asked her what it was, she was telling me it's the Islamic scholar who gave it to her. And then that thing was inside a paper. That paper was written with Quranic verses on it. Mm. And then she burns it. And then before then, she rubs her body with they write this Quranic verses on the slate and wash it off. He tells her sometimes to drink or rub her body. And then I said to her, "You said this man who gave this to you is an Islamic scholar?" She says yes. And I said, I don't think there's anywhere in the Quran.
Talib, let me verify this. Was she given an amulet or a talisman to wear? Or was she given something written on against a paper and she was asked to soak it in water and drink it and wash with it?
No, she was given like an amulet, and then she burns it in the fire, and then she covers herself up. And
I see.
Just
Okay.
the smoke inhaled. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I want a clarification to it so I can really explain to her, because I actually told her to stop it because it's un-Islamic.
No. All right. Thank you, Talib.
So I wanted to please talk on that. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Mahbub from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah. Go ahead, Mahbub.
I have actually three questions. One of them, when we perform Umrah, if I'm performing with my friends, like I have friends together, and I see most of the time there's a lineup with the barber, and sometimes not all the barber are following the hygiene properly. So is it permissible after performing Umrah, both of my friends, like we can help shaving or cutting the hair to each other? That's one question. Second one, when I'm reciting Surah Fatiha with Jamaat, when Imam is reciting it, should I recite line by line when Imam is finishing one line? Should I recite that, repeat that line by myself, or I have to wait until the Imam finishes to say Ameen and then I should recite?
No.
And the third one, for Wudu, evolution, is it first for do the gargle and throw the water in nostril?
No, I think the third question, Mahbub. Would you please repeat your third question?
Sorry, which one, brother?
The third question, the last one.
Third question for Wudu, like evolution. Is it first for the Wudu to gargle, like put water inside the mouth and do gargling, and also clean the nostril?
Naam.
Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazak. Thank you so much. Abdul Malik from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Yes, sir, good evening.
Good evening. Abdul Malik, do me a favor and mute your TV, please.
Okay. Are you clear now? Can you hear me better?
Now I can hear you better.
All right. Please, I have a couple of questions. I'm working with one of an organization in Nigeria, and they asked me to go and meet one of our colleagues that his father died. So they said I should go and represent the company, but he's not a Muslim. He's a non-Muslim.
Okay.
So my question is it allowed for me to go to a non-Muslim burial ceremony? Because, you know, they do a lot of things in the church, and then they will tell us to go to the graveyard and do something else again. So is it allowed for me Islamically to go for a non-Muslim burial ceremony? Because they do like a ceremony there.
Okay.
That is one. Then the second question, please. Can I go ahead?
Please.
All right. The second question is regarding small children. I have a small boy, but you know, it's not permissible for you to perform ablution and touch your aura as an adult. So, is it permissible for your boy, for a small boy that is 1, 2, 3 years old, if he goes to toilet, is it permissible for you to do tahara for him? Is your ablution void, or is it still intact?
Okay.
Do you get the question?
I did. Thank you so much. Your questions are very clear. Saba from the KSA, and after I take Saba's questions, I would like to pause so that I get to answer some of these questions. Saba, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sheikh.
Go ahead.
Yes, Sheikh. I have this question that me and my husband performed Hajj this year, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. May Allah accept.
Yes. Ameen. During the Tawaful Wida, when I was performing the 7th circuit, my wuzu broke. So I performed the 7th circuit, I performed the wuzu again, and then I did the 7th circuit again. So I wanted to ask, is this okay, or was I supposed to perform all the 7 circuits again?
Okay.
And now do I have to give a ransom, or what should I do?
All right. Since your question is simple and you don't have to wait till I answer the previous ones, if your wudu is void during the tawaf, you have one of two choices. Either to step out to make wudu and come back to start from the beginning, or to resume from the same point that you stopped at when you broke your wudu, or to start this round and the next rounds from the beginning of the round, from the black stone corner, I mean. Like if you are in the 7th round and you broke your wudu halfway after you started from the black stone corner. So you should start the 7th, according to the second view, you should start the 7th round from the black stone corner, and that would be sufficient. So what you did was right. You did according to one of the two views, and it is valid. So you do not owe any fidya, penalty, or ransom, and your tawaf al-wada', according to what you did, is complete and valid. If you notice that we only speak within the area of validity, As far as acceptance is entirely up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all hope and pray that may Allah accept the best of our deeds and pardon us and forgive us for our shortcomings. Thank you, Sister Saba. Sister Zahra from Malaysia, a father or a parent is given a gift, valuable or a house, a property, something that has a value to one of his children for a reason. Like if this child has been supporting the family, he is the one who's earning and putting bread on the table, whatever. The first case we all know and we're all familiar with the hadith of An-Nu'man ibn Bashir, which he narrated that his father once gave him a property, and An-Nu'man's mother insisted that the Prophet ﷺ should be aware of that and should bear witness to this gift. So the Prophet ﷺ, Nu'man's father went to him and he asked him, I want you to bear witness to this. And Nabi ﷺ asked him a very straightforward question. He said, do you have other children? He said, yes. He said, did you give each and every one of them similar to what you gave to An-Nu'man? He said, no. At that the Prophet ﷺ said, then go and find somebody else to witness that, because I do not witness or testify to a falsehood. This is a false act. It is not permissible to specify or single out one of the children because you love him more than the others and give him something extra, because that creates hatred and it severs the relations between your children in the future. Likewise, if somebody deprived his children from the inheritance and give it all in the wasiyah to one of his heirs, the wasiyah will be invalid and will neglect his statement. It will be of no effect whatsoever. But if the person has children, adults, mashallah, they grew up and he supported each one of them through his education and marriage, and now Allah blessed him with a young child. The guy is getting old and the child, he wants to secure his future. So he tells the children that I would like to give this property, or I would like to specify this money for the youngster or for the handicap or for the person who's been supporting the family as a means of compensation. This is for a reason. This is for a reason. Sometimes the father or the parents prepare each one of the children for marriage. Either they buy them the flowers, the furniture, pay the dowry, blah, blah, blah. There is one or two left who did not get the same. So it is their right that the father specify for them a portion of the wealth, even in the form of cash, or set aside some money for them and says this is for this reason. As I did help those who are grown up right now, I would like to help the youngsters. So this is fair. What's not fair is to single out one of those who are equally treated, and none of them has a favor upon me, to single him out by a gift, which will create hatred and severs the relation between the children. I hope this is clear, inshallah. Uthman from Nigeria, I already answered the first question pertaining making dua for the entire ummah, especially for those who will perform in Hajj in sacred places. The second is, what is the ruling on a person who missed the Jum'ah several weeks deliberately while there are many masajid in town? Such person, if he did that on purpose, he is not a Muslim. He is not a Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-ahdu alladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah faman tarakaha faqad kafar. This is a serious, heinous act, which if the person dies in this condition, he will die either in a state of nifaq or disbelief. Wal-'iyadhu billah. May Allah guide us what's best. Let's take a short break, and inshallah when we get back, we'll resume answering some of these questions, so stay tuned.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, as we approach and begin a new Islamic year, 1433 years after the hijrah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this year a new beginning for the revival of the Muslim Ummah.
So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has freed us and made us, alhamdulillah, free of all those corrupted rulers. And we are heading to choose for ourselves.
Here at Huda TV, we begin a new season of our program, The Straight Path. And I, Osama Al-Shami, will be hosting this season, inshallah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it a season full of beneficial and interesting topics. Can you tell us about the different factions that were in Medina at the time that the Prophet ﷺ arrived to Medina, and how did he deal with each one of them? This week, inshallah, as we begin, I'm very honored to be hosting our beloved Sheikh from Canada, Sheikh Rifat Muhammad, as we talk about the migration of our beloved Prophet ﷺ.
If we wanted to build a Muslim state, we have to adopt the same method that the Muhajirin did and the Ansar did.
And the lessons we can learn in our personal lives and lessons that we can learn as an ummah in order to establish an Islamic state.
Islam has rules and has laws that make the people united instead of making them other way.
We hope that you will be joining us, inshallah, and I hope to see you soon, bi'idhnillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We have, mashallah, many pending questions, and we have also many callers waiting on the line. So I would alternate between answering questions and taking some of the callers. Okay, we'll take Sarah from the United Kingdom. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Sarah, how are you?
Fine, my name is Sarah.
Sarah?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Sarah. Okay, how are you, Sarah? Do you have a question?
Hi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Do you have a question, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, please. Okay, Sarah, you can deposit your question in the control. So you have a very, very short time to answer these questions. Thank you for calling, Sarah, all the way from the UK. Talib from Nigeria had a situation. Somebody was going through a dilemma, and she went to somebody who gave her an amulet. Once we're talking about an amulet, we got to understand that contradicts the concept of Tawheed. No amulets, nor ta'weed or talisman is permissible in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Man allaqa faqad ashrak." Especially when the person ends up wearing them or hanging them from a neck, from a wrist, from wherever, that is not permissible. Keeping them in one's clothes or pocket or beneath the pillow, all of that is not permissible. Add to that, the guy told her that you need to burn it and soak the ash in water and drink it. None of that is approved. I understand that a person should read the Quran or the Adhkar in order to benefit out of its blessings. A person may write the Quranic verses with saffron and paper, soak it in water and drink it. That benefits, yes, but to burn it and put the ash in water and drink it or shower with it, I don't have any reference to that. Thank you. Mahbub from United Arab Emirates has 3 questions. The first is, after finishing the rites of Umrah or Hajj, now it's time to do tahallul in order to exit from the conditions of Ihram by shaving or trimming. The question is very important, and it confuses a lot of people. Can a person who's in a state of Ihram and now is ready to shave or trim his or her hair do that for themselves or do it for others since they're still in a state of Ihram? Yes, they may, and there is no restriction whatsoever. The problem is with the widespread misinformation that if you are in ihram, you cannot give yourself a haircut, or you cannot trim your own hair. Of course, now with the razors and electric razors, you can do it to yourself, no problem. But they're asking, is it okay? Yes, it is okay. How come you're not supposed to do that because you're in ihram? You were in ihram. But by accomplishing all the pillars of Umrah or the pillars of Hajj, now it's time to do the next nusuk, which is tahallul. So you're doing what Allah ordered you to do. Similarly, if you are in a state of ihram, there is no restriction whatsoever against giving a haircut to somebody else who's about to do tahallul and finish the state of ihram. No problem whatsoever. There is no other opinion in this regard. I'm not talking about a dispute and a more right view and a lesser right view. No, there is no other opinion in this regard, and I hope we can propagate this and educate people. Otherwise, I like to call this a barber's fatwa, where most likely the people who spread these misinformations are doing that in order for their business to grow, so that people will not get a haircut but at their places. There is no such thing. Reciting the Fatiha with the Imam. We all know that we discussed it before. According to the Jumhur, every person, whether an Imam or a Ma'mum, must recite Surah Al-Fatiha on their own. Imam Abu Hanifa opposed and said if the Imam recited Surah Al-Fatiha, it is sufficient. So the Ma'mum should not only does not have to, he should not recite Surah Al-Fatiha. The qira'ah, the recitation of the Imam, is for the Ma'mum as well. The right view is the view of the vast majority of the scholars based on many ahadith. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, a person or a prayer in which Salatul Fatiha, Qira'atu Surah Al-Fatiha, or the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha is not recited, فهي خداج, is incomplete, insufficient, and deficient. So this is the more right view, that every person must recite Surah Al-Fatiha. The second part of the question is when and how shall the Ma'mum recite Surah Al-Fatiha? Behind the Imam, when the Imam recites Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen and pauses, the Ma'mum should say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen? No. Once the Imam finishes the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, instantly you start reciting Surah Al-Fatiha on your own, even if it overlaps with the recitation of the Imam to the following surah. While making wudu or ghusl, gargling, rinsing the mouth, and washing the nostrils, is it sunnah or a wajib? The right thing, it is a wajib. It is a must in the wudu, similar to washing the face and the arms and wiping over the head, to do the madmada, which is rinsing the mouth, and washing the nostrils. Al-madmada wal-istinshaq are both mandatory in the wudu. Abdul Malik from Nigeria, and I'll be more than happy to take phone calls inshallah after this, said he's been deployed by the company to attend the funeral of a colleague or somebody's father who's a colleague who happened to be non-Muslim. What is the hukm of attending the funeral of a non-Muslim? It is definitely permissible, and we're encouraged, and you receive a reward for visiting a non-Muslim who's sick and praying for their health and cure. That is permissible, and you will be rewarded for that. It is definitely permissible to visit those who lost a beloved person to them, a father, a son, and give them the condolence. That too is permissible. But it is not permissible for a Muslim to attend the funeral and the service of the burial of a non-Muslim, except if the person who died is your own father or a very close relative and no one to take care of his funeral but you. The Prophet ﷺ ordered Ali ibn Abi Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, to attend his father's funeral. And you all know who was Ali's father? Abu Talib, the Prophet's uncle. The Prophet did not attend his own uncle's burial. We all know that who was Abu Talib. He was the greatest supporter to Islam and Muslims throughout his the life of the Islamic mission until he died. But he died as a non-Muslim. So the Prophet ﷺ did not attend his funeral. The funeral of a non-Muslim in the service include religious duties, the recitation of what does not match our belief, calling upon false deities and false gods. This is their faith. We're not negotiating or discussing now whether they are believers or non-believers, because according to our faith, this is all false. So I'm not allowed to attend that. I'm not allowed to attend something in a place of worship for non-Muslims where they're worshiping their God, unless if I'm going there to preach and give them da'wah and say this is all false. But I'm not going to do that definitely in the funeral nor in the wedding. So I can go afterward to extend the condolence to the family and offer them any help, moral, financial support. All of that is permissible and you will be rewarded for that, but not attend the funeral. Touching the awrah of a sabi after this phone call. Assalamu alaikum. Burhan from the KSA.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have taken a credit card based on Islamic principle called tawarruk, and in which if I make any purchases, I have the option to pay back the amount within a certain time. After which, if that time lapses, then there is a charge which they will put on me. I just want to know, is it, but usually I always pay back the amount before the time elapses. And
I don't see what is a tawarruk in this. The tawarruk is halal. If you know what tawarruk is, okay?
No, but it's not clear to me. That's why I'm asking you how it works.
Okay, so you need to know the tawarruk versus the transaction that you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. طيب. Any other questions?
No, that is it.
Barakallah fi. Jazakallah khayr. Radwan from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Salam, Sheikh Salah, I have two questions.
Yes.
First question is it permissible to do tawaf on behalf of others who is alive or dead? And second question, is it permissible to fix marriage of children in the state of ihram?
No.
That's all.
Neither one of them is permissible. According to the more right view with the first one, performing tawaf on behalf of others, because Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, at-tawafu salah. You cannot pray on behalf of others. You can pray for others. But to offer a prayer that somebody missed, you can't do that. Definitely you can perform fasting on behalf of others. Because al-aslu fil ibadat al-man' wal-hadhr. When it comes to the ibadah or acts of worship, I cannot do anything unless if it has a reference. Unless if it is approved or it was approved by the Prophet ﷺ, or he has done it. So in this case, I cannot pray on behalf of somebody else. I cannot perform tawaf on behalf of somebody else, of course, obviously, nor sa'i. But I can perform a whole umrah and a whole hajj on behalf of others, because the Prophet ﷺ approved that. When he heard somebody was performing hajj and he said, لَبَّيْكَ عَنْ شُبْرُمَةٍ, Oh Allah, here I come to you to perform hajj, and he made the talbiyah on behalf of a second person. The Prophet ﷺ asked this person who was making the talbiyah on behalf of another, he said, أَحَجَجْتَ عَنْ نَفْسِكَ, have you performed hajj on behalf of yourself first? He said, no. He said, then you should perform hajj for yourself, then you do hajj on behalf of Shubrumah. That is the reference to performing hajj on behalf of others. But tawaf, according to the more right view, you cannot do tawaf on behalf of others as tawaf by itself, because it is salah. Processing a marriage contract while you are in a state of ihram is not permissible. It is one of the restrictions of ihram. Okay? Burhan, first before Burhan, Abdul Malik from Nigeria had a question pertaining changing the diaper, washing the infant's private parts after answering the call of nature. Sometimes the person would end up touching the private of the baby. Does not nullify the wudu. They are underage the infants, they don't have a awrah yet. When I do any transaction with what is called Islamic banking or Islamic transaction, the name itself is insufficient. The name itself does not mean it is halal, because I can call anything, give it halal name, but it's not halal. So what matters is the type of transaction and its nature. Now I use a credit card. Somebody says you go ahead and spend, you have an allowance up to 10,000 or 100,000. And if you pay within 1 month, that's perfectly fine. But after 1 month, then you end up paying interest on that, 10%, 15%, 1%, more or less, it doesn't matter. That is called interest. Then in this case, we entered into the area of interest and riba. Okay? Some scholars said when they have a fixed penalty for processing the paperwork and sending letters and warnings and collection agencies, and this is fixed, because if somebody has a late payment of 1,000 guinea or 1,000 rial or $1,000, and somebody else has a late payment of 10,000, it is the same process. It will cost me the same process to send letters and collection agencies and so on. So if I charge the person the amount which I paid in order to collect that, that's fine. But to say that the interest will be in proportion with the debt, then we're talking about interest, whether they call it murabaha or tawarruq or whatever. What counts is the actual transaction. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bilal from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum. Sabah from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum. Please try again, Bilal.
Walaikum assalam, Sheikh. Sheikh, I want you to just say a word or two or shed some light on what does Islam say about anxiety, depression, or people suffering from panic attacks and who are undergoing psychiatric treatment with antidepressants and all. I have tried to find something on this on the internet and all, but I have not found anything. One of my friends is going through this bad phase of anxiety and panic and all. And one of her major anxieties is also whether she is a good Muslim or what is going to happen in the hereafter, whether Allah is going to accept all her supplications. And, she keeps on worrying and worrying and worrying, thinking about the day of resurrection. And, her daily life has somehow become very distorted. Can you just give a line or two or a word of advice for her? Thank you so much.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Sabah.
Jazakallah.
Thank you so much. First of all, may Allah give her shifa. And a great deal of the treatment is in her hands and in her heart. In her hands, because she has to be willing to overcome this problem. And she has to be easygoing. So she has to listen to the advice and act upon it. Some people overdo it. They enter into that stage of the OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. They overdo things. Sometimes this is simply due to the waswasa from the shaitan, and in many cases it is a disorder. It requires a psychiatric treatment, and we said there is nothing wrong with that. If somebody is sick, it doesn't matter whether this person has a headache and he takes a Tylenol or Excedrin for it because he has a headache, or he has a mental disorder and he has to take a psychiatric treatment. And it doesn't make any difference to visit an internist or a psychiatric because this is an illness, a disease. It won't turn you down, it won't put you down, it won't make you a lesser human being than others. Somebody is sick. Why am I saying that? Because a lot of people reject the thought and the idea that I have some disorder in my mind or brain. So they would rather go to somebody, keep reading adhkar and ruqya, which is perfectly fine. But it's not working because there is something here. You need to take a medication to overcome this disorder. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ما جعل الله من دواء إلا وجعل له ما جعل الله من داء إلا وجعل له دواء. Allah did not create any disease, but He created also along with it the treatment. تداووا عباد الله. So servants of Allah seek remedy. And repeatedly the Prophet ﷺ prescribed medications, whether in the hijama, whether in drinking honey, whether in the ruqya, all of that are prescribed treatments. And also acquiring the proper treatment with a specialist is important. As far as the moral and the mental part, with regards to an anxiety, a person may actually put himself or herself in this situation due to lack of tawakkul. Lack of tawakkul. At-tawakkul is to put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. People are worried about tomorrow. Oh, what happens if I lose my job? Some people even get the anxiety thinking about what happens if her husband loses his job. He's already in the job and they're living happily, but she is thinking, she's expecting the worst to come. We're going to be out, we're going to be in the street and we won't be able to afford the rent or the school tuitions for the children. My daughter won't be able to get married. They keep expecting the worst to come while they're living happily. This is lack of tawakkul. Whether you're afraid something happens to you yourself or to others, or if you are in it. Abu Umama was a great companion whom the Prophet ﷺ saw him depressed when he entered the masjid once and said, Ya Abu Umama, why do I see you worried? I saw you, I noticed that several times you're not looking okay. You're not normal. He said, Ya Rasulullah, هموم لزمتني وديون غلبتني. I'm overwhelmingly concerned with worries and I'm drowning in my debt. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Ya Abu Umama, shall I not teach you a prayer, an invocation or a dua that if you recite in the morning and in the evening, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will settle your debt and will relieve you from your worries? He said, certainly Ya Rasulullah. He said, إذا أصبحت وإذا أمسيت. In the morning and in the evening you should say, اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن والعجز والكسل والجبن والبخل وأعوذ بك من غلبة الدين وقهر الرجال. So Abu Umama said, I kept saying this dua until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me a relief from my worries and He settled my debt. This is as a result of tawakkul. Trust me, brothers and sisters, most cases can be solved if we adhere to the morning and the evening adhkar. To recite the adhkar in the morning after Fajr and until before sunrise, and in the evening after Asr and until sunset. If we adhere to the adhkar, we'll be divinely protected throughout the day and the night. Unfortunately, we ran out of time, but anyway, alhamdulillah, we wrapped it up and we answered all the questions, so we don't have any pending. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance and in your deen